the issue is the 245T, and with particular reference to the APB. But I guess my story, or my family's story, predates that. My father was weeds and seeds with the Department of Ag in the early 60s, so sort of 1962, 63, and he was trialling a new herbicide, which happened to be 245T, in Merriden, Southern Cross area, and he used to stand under a crop duster and be sprayed with this stuff basically all day, every day for months at an end. And during that time, my mother became pregnant with my brother, and he was born in early 1963, and with terrible abnormalities of which there was no history on either side of our family. So congenital heart defects, he only had 2 chambers, he was what's called a blue baby, and he died, I think he was 3 or 4 months old, but the impact was that it sort of really ripped our family apart, and I didn't understand the link. We just thought it was just like one of those things, and it was years later. I was working in an office and I shared with a guy who'd been a Vietnam vet who'd handled drums of 245T in Vietnam, and it was a number of years, that was in about 1980, I think it was, about 1980 or 81. 1980, I was doing prac in an architect's office, and we shared with a guy who, as I say, had handled this, and he became aware as a veteran because he had children with abnormalities, really strange, like one of his daughters was born with reverse diabetes, where her pancreas produced way too much insulin, and they surgically removed her pancreas and made her an insulin-dependent diabetic. And he told me this, and that was the beginning of my awareness that it was something. It was just more than a mere coincidence. There was a pattern here, and I guess that's how I became interested in the subject. And this was years after the event. I'm 60 now, and I'm, so 1958 vintage. So I found out about this, I suppose, about 79, 80, 81, something like that, when I was studying, Yeah. Well, after my brother David died, Mum became just terribly depressed and dysfunctional, which is just not my mother. My mother is just... Look, she's a human dynamo. She really is. She's really organised and always really well presented and beautifully groomed, and she still is to this day. And it just, the wheels fell off the go-kart, and then much later when I told my dad about this, and with my friend that I was working with telling me about his children, and I read the stuff he was showing me, and then I told my dad about it, and when the penny dropped for my dad, it was the second time I saw him cry, which was, the first time was the day my brother died in 1963, and the second time, that was the first time. The second time was when he's just, head in hands, I killed my son. And of course, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. And I think that realisation, my dad started to really drink, and it just, look, it's... The impact, it's not just about money or just the loss of one life, it's what it does to the family, what it does, and this simmering anger, I suppose, that this is one of the big cover-ups of all time, and it goes on to this day. And it just, can I swear? It really shits me. It just shits me. It's just like, what's the matter with... I'm just not having it anymore. I'm really proud to be a part of this.